so we're back here. I think we're going to talk about our favorite year ever right now, 2023. Courtney will tell you it's the year it all fell apart. I'd say it more like it's the year it all went to shit, but whatever, same thing. So let's start there. For you, where did it all start in that year for you? Because I know it was a messy year beyond me.
Yeah.
I think it's important to kind of give people a glimpse into the other aspects of our healthcare system that were failing us at the time as well.
It was tough. And I try not to cry, and I'm already about to cry just thinking about that year.
If I tell you to cry, you won't cry because you never do what I tell you. So.
That year was the worst year of my life, our life. It was a mess. And the reason why we say it's the year that everything fell apart, you go from the whole experience of COVID, which everybody in the world can relate in some capacity, and we come home and, you were not right. We could tell it was more than just an anxiety or a depression, or we didn't know what was going on.
When we moved back, are you saying?
When we moved back.
Yeah, I mean, that took a toll on me moving back too. Like, I moved back to my family and then moved straight back. It was like a lot of stress, a lot of guilt, a lot of other feelings going on within symptoms at that time too. So I was just a total mess. That's when I was really starting to unravel on my end.
You were starting to unravel.
Yeah.
One of our daughters something was off. The anxiety, a little bit of OCD and stuff here and there, and nothing alarming, but
I
you
think
could
at the
tell.
time we were chalking it up to just coming from that whole
that it was her
lifestyle
experience
she was living up there.
Yeah. It was hard to watch though, but inside me, and any mom out there will understand this, but you just know. I didn't know what, but I just knew. I'm like, something's not right. And you don't want to believe it, but you're like, something's wrong, and I can't figure it out. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then I'm watching you fall apart. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then, the beginning of 2023, even right before then, the winter time, hey, let's break you a little bit more. So my dad, I had been monitoring both my parents' labs, obviously, because the doctors don't do a good job. And so I make sure I advocate for them. And I'm talking for a couple years, there was some alarming things on my mom's blood work and on my dad's, and more on my mom's, actually, now that I think about it. But the doctor kept blowing it off and blowing it off. And then I look at my dad's labs. I think it was that December or January. And I was like, wait a second, something is not right. I'm like, your PSA. So he has a history of prostate cancer. Early 50s, he was diagnosed because of Agent Orange in Vietnam. Prostatectomy, everything was good. He had been in the clear forever. And then all of a sudden, his PSA was no longer undetectable, and 2 different doctors missed it. And so, long story short, he ended up having a recurrence of his prostate cancer. And meanwhile, at the same time, we finally got my mom's doctor to order more lab. Years. Why? Why does it take years to do this? And I was already a mess about my dad. I was worried about him. And so her labs came back, and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me, God. So she ended up getting diagnosed with pre-myeloma. And so it's called MGUS. It's a monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance. And so she got that diagnosis. My dad had his diagnosis, so I'm trying to navigate all that. You're literally starting to fall apart right in front of me. And then one of our daughters is falling apart as well. And I'm going, what is happening? It's just like the perfect storm. And, I try to act like I have it all together, but I don't. It was a really hard year.
I'd say before all of that, the COVID time taught us to kind of not put so much trust in our healthcare system.
Yeah.
And these instances probably taught us more about how dismissive our healthcare system can be. And I think that this was when it all started to collide for us, I would say, right? I think we started realizing, your parents at their age, they were just being dismissed. Let's not look any further. Let's not determine what the root cause is. Let's just kind of, broad overview this and kind of move you on your way so we can make room for the younger crowd to come in and then cut that
One
up.
of our children.
One of our children. I'd say her issues were, being dismissed. I would definitely say as well in our healthcare system. I think us questioning if there was another way to go was also being questioned, would you say? Or
Yeah, but that all didn't really come to a head until that It was right around the time that you got diagnosed is when everything really started happening with her. I mean, it was apparent something was wrong, but it was when she had the dental work done and she got nitrous oxide, which, by the way, if you're listening and you have the MTHFR gene mutation, you cannot have nitrous oxide. And if you do have it, you have to supplement with B12 beforehand. I'm just going to throw that out there because we didn't know. You have the gene mutation. She has the gene mutation. And, I mean, it was right there on the consent form. Didn't know at the time she had it. It was like, you cannot have nitrous oxide if you have X, Y, and Z. And that was one of the choices. And I remember seeing that later, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But anyway, so she had 2 teeth pulled. She just instantly, like, something was not okay. She got this hollowed out look on her face, dark circles under her eyes. She started with these hand tics and just restless, and
Her smile changed.
everything changed. Her personality was gone. And then just, put a nail in the coffin. 2 months later, her and our other daughter, or one of our other daughters, the 2 of them had their tonsils and adenoids out over Thanksgiving break, and nitrous oxide again before general anesthesia. And obviously, had I known, this would not have happened, but it was an absolute mess. And I remember going to her pediatrician, and you have to fight for your kids, man. You have to fight for your kids. And anybody out there with a diagnosis of pandas, which is where I'm going with one of our children, either you don't know what it is or the doctor makes you think you're crazy. I was literally falling apart, because this was after your diagnosis, which we'll kind of jump back into. I talked to the pediatrician. I was like, MTHFR, my husband has it. And she literally stopped me mid-conversation and told me that it was a joke, that it is not real. It is not that big of a deal. That was the last time I ever stepped foot in her office because she didn't even know what labs to check. You don't check a serum B12 with a kid that you're worried about with all of this stuff. There's other labs, and I'm not going to get into the clinical side. That's not what this is for. But I had to basically make her try to check some of these different labs to try to figure out what was going on. So you know what? I said, forget it. So I just started figuring it out on my own. And I was already an absolute falling apart mom mess.
I mean, the sad part, the big realization in all of that, too, was you mentioned, had I known. And it's like, you're a nurse by background with this extensive medical history, but most people out there aren't that. So when they go to the doctor, they don't get these answers to questions. They don't even have the questions to ask to get the answer to. So I feel like a lot of these kids are definitely falling trap to our system and not getting the care they need, because why would you know about the MTHFR gene or the nitrous interaction because it's on a piece of paper that you sign and not a doctor sitting you down telling you about these things before you do them.
Yeah.
So the had I known point, we're fortunate in my regard, your parents' regard, our daughter's regard, that you have the background you do to really understand how to help. But without that, I mean, most people are just left to be trapped by the system.
Yeah. And maybe this will help. Maybe this will help somebody else because, I had been thinking it was pandas, and the only reason I even knew about it was because of 2 old friends of mine that, I had met in different places in life and different times in life, and I remember hearing about their children suffering with this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hadn't heard about it. Imagine how many other people out there that don't have my background, that have no idea what it is. And I mean, even to this day, I try to explain it to people. They have zero clue. Zero clue. What do you mean, a panda bear? What are you talking about? And so it's hard because there is no awareness, and you do get shut down, and you get gaslit, and you think that, you're crazy. And I mean, there were times where I'm like, am I wrong? But I knew I wasn't. I mean, we went through getting tested for celiac. I mean, she was everything. We went through all of these different tests. And anyways, it turns out that it was pandas. But I remember, and I'm sure some moms out there can appreciate this, but I was determined to figure out when it actually really set in. So I was like, okay, we have the live option on our iPhone for the camera. So I literally went back and searched through all of my pictures, and I remember I found the one for your birthday that year, and Courtney, she was sitting on your lap, and I held down my thumb on the phone. Anyways, that's the first time that I saw it. It was the look on her face, the hollowed eyes, and the tics that she was doing with her hands. And I'm like, okay, And I'm right. This all makes sense. This is exactly what happened and like what caused it and what really set it into motion, and kind of started that downward spiral for her. But we live in a horrible system.
Yeah.
That I have to go like and try to figure this out on my own. But I know, like, I have the knowledge and the ability and the critical thinking skills to put it all together and piece it together and try to figure out how to help my child without the help of any medical professional. But I'm kind of a rare breed when it comes to being able to do that. And
yeah. I think that's definitely a whole nother episode to get into that, because I think that's an important subject. And just, again, this goes so far beyond Parkinson's, and I think a lot of things translate over so many different illnesses, and young and old, and me and everybody else. And I think that's an important one to cover, because I do feel like that is an issue that is out there, that is being mistreated, misdiagnosed, and I think that people just need to know there's a better way to manage it. And again, whole nother episode. We'll stick to the year it all went to shit for now.
Thanks for reeling me in, babe.
But yeah, I mean, the year it all. So we had your parents, we had your daughter, and then I want to talk about me now. My decline.
Well, yours, we got to talk. We saved the best for last, because yours is the longest, most drawn out, horrible conversation. Not horrible, but you know what I mean.
We got into the whole move, stress, all that, issues started to present themselves. I'd say in that little window before we moved into our house, I started noticing some changes. I think starting that prescription, having a little finger twitch going on. Definitely noticed it was, a little slower, my body felt tired. Little things like that were creeping in. But the finger twitch, that was what was making me be like, Parkinson's, but I'm 39 at the time. I wasn't really thinking that was even a possibility. I had no education on Parkinson's. It was not on my radar at all. I'd say that's probably when it all started, right? I mean, I know what I noticed early on, trying to remember back, but it's been a complete shit show since then. So I don't know what you remember about that time, but gosh, I'll stop it prior to diagnosis, but I remember dropping a pitcher on my foot. Do you remember that?
How could I forget?
Full pitcher of tea, glass pitcher. I had to go to the I thought I broke my foot. Hit my head on a cabinet. I was just getting clumsy. There was just a bunch of random shit going on at the time. But what do you remember? I was the one falling apart. What were you seeing?
Yeah, I know. I was trying to keep everybody together and myself together, and I remember the picture. I remember the twitching. I remember we were going to a functional medicine doctor that was blowing us off. And then what I remember the most, and I can see it in my head without even closing my eyes, and I'm sitting at the breakfast bar in our kitchen, and you're walking towards me down the hall into the kitchen, and I was like, oh my gosh, your arm is not swinging when you walk. Mm-hmm. I was like, something is not right. And that is when I was like, he has Parkinson's. And it was in my head. I didn't voice it to you.
That appointment was expensive.
That was a very expensive appointment. It was just like this, wow, what is happening? But I mean, you were being gaslit by the functional medicine doctor. And
do you remember what he told me when we wondering, is it Parkinson's? Could it be Parkinson's?
I'll let you tell everybody what he told you. It makes me cringe.
So I went, when the twitching started, they ruled out it was a side effect of medication. We were still in these ridiculous long waits for an appointment to get into a neurologist because of COVID 3 years later, somehow still causing appointment delays. But I remember asking him, you think it could be Parkinson's? And it was the first person I ever asked. I never even thought of it before that. And he's like, well, did you do a lot of ecstasy when you were younger? I'm like, well, what the hell kind of question is that? He's like, well, that's how Michael J. Fox got it, isn't it? You're a functional doctor, and this is I'm sitting here asking you if you think it's Parkinson's, and you're literally telling me I must have done a lot of ecstasy when I was younger in order to be punished with this disease. No information whatsoever. Same guy that knew nothing about cannabis or CBD or anything.
Apparently didn't need to.
Anything functional.
Anything functional.
Yeah.
He couldn't even read a stool test. Yeah, he missed a lot.
Anywho, that was all that year. And then, 2020, I think, was when I started to get, I think, a little bit more. I think it was 2020. 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 I think it was Yeah, I mean, and then we were just kind of
Nightmare.
sitting around, falling apart, waiting for my diagnosis, uncertainty with your parents, uncertainty with our child.
We had to drive over an hour away to get your diagnosis, to go see that neurologist,
My initial diagnosis.
your
yeah.
initial diagnosis. I mean, that in itself, I mean, the functional medicine doctor, if we want to call him that still, he didn't even have anybody to refer you to. He's like, well, let me try to look up and see if I can
Oh, he was
find a
Googling
neurologist. I'm
neurologists,
like, what are you even talking about right now? And so my brother is the one.
You got a nice Escalade, though.
Yeah, he did. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Goals. So, but anyways, it was my brother that had to give us a referral to one. And he was great. I mean, he was so kind.
Oh, he was awesome.
He was really nice.
I mean, we can get into that now, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I think people are probably dying to know our experience because I bet a lot of people, especially young onset out there that might be listening, have had an absolute hell of a time getting diagnosed, even being believed that they actually have something wrong with them. So let's get into it.
Yeah, so why don't we wrap up this whole year it all went to shit, and we'll jump into the diagnosis from there, right? Okay, so where do you want to start with that? I mean, do you want to go like all the way back, like to like, you know, when we think I was starting to fall apart, or
You want my version of that or your version of that?
yeah, we can get both. I mean, I think like it's important to kind of like, because I think we do believe that this doesn't just start the day you get diagnosed. Like this is like
No.
an unraveling, and like the system doesn't know how to catch it early. It's one of those weird diseases that does so many different things. It's not one dimensional. And I think that it's very hard to catch. But shit, I mean, we could go back. When did I slip and sprain my neck? 2011?
Before we were married.
I'd say shortly after that, it was when, you know, I'm having a hard time paying attention at work. So go to the doctor. Here's ADHD medication. Start this. And then start that. And it's like, well, now my mood's off. Here's an antidepressant.
my
Like
gosh,
start
that
this.
I forgot about that. I'm trying to think of I know the two medications you were on at that time, and you were a zombie.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah. On top of that, head to toe psoriasis. You know, let's just put some topicals on that, and
you know
move
what?
away, and like do some biopsies, and
Not to even interrupt you real quick, but that just kind of sparked something in me because right around the time when we look back and we can try to figure out, okay, you were great, normal in quotes per se, but when all of that started happening, that's when your psoriasis started rearing its ugly head again, and you had the stuff on your face that was an issue, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. That all kind of
yeah. And I'd say that's when it definitely wasn't as bad as it was in like 21, 22, 23, but that's probably when my apathy started to where I was like, go, go, go. I'll get to it at some point, or I'll do it later. I just was losing interest in like daily activities slowly starting back then. So yeah, I'd say that's when it started to get misdiagnosed. I'd say that's when it officially was really starting. And I think I just went through this course of a decade of, you know, what do you call it? Pill for an ill, and, you know, patching it up and band-aiding my symptoms and not giving me the ability to truly know what was going on with my body because I was just constantly hiding it, adding more on top of that, you know, just, I guess, piling it on. Medication after medication, like this one, try this one next, like this one, but nobody ever said, let's pause and try to figure this out. Like, you got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
And we just keep throwing stuff on top of it. Like, let's try to get underneath it and figure it out. But none of that was happening. So
That whole why behind it.
I
Nobody
mean,
ever
that's
cared
my
to find it.
non-medical assessment
Non-medical.
of my life, the decade leading up to it. But I'd say I was unraveling over that time.
You
From
really
who
were.
I was to who I was becoming, because I was always like a social, active, energetic person, and then I went from that to like kind of almost dormant slowly.
Because that puts us at, what are we, 2025 right now?
Yeah.
That puts us at like 13, 14 years that you've probably had Parkinson's going on, the very beginning stages. I remember you seemed a little off even on our honeymoon, and I think we talked about that before multiple times, I'm sure. but it's important for people to hear this because marriages fall apart families fall apart and you think it's because your husband's depressed or he has apathy or all these other symptoms, and thank God we didn't fall apart, but there are families out there that are, but you got to step back. What is really going on here? Could it be something else going on that's causing this, especially when you go from being who you were to what you were slowly becoming? It didn't make sense. I just remember being like, I would be bawling my eyes out like, I don't understand. I am so in love with this guy, and why is he changing? Does he not love me anymore? Does he just not love his life? It was, it absolutely sucked because I'm on this position where I love you, something's wrong, nobody's helping us figure out what. You're just being put on meds that make you even worse. You were so flat, affect, and I'm in a state that I didn't want to be in. I'm freezing my butt off, and I just want to be in the warm southern state that I grew up in. And it was a really, really hard time in life. We had little ones. We were starting to start our family and
moved. We left Massachusetts.
We left Massachusetts in, what was that, 2016?
Yeah.
And
and I feel like just the year before my diagnosis, it was just like a decade of battling myself more and more as the years went on. And it was like finally like a tipping point where the sad part is with Parkinson's, it's only pay attention to it when they see it.
Right.
Not when you're experiencing
not
it,
until
but
you're
it's
shaking.
like when my fingers started twitching, that's when they got curious. Like,
Yeah.
well, maybe it's something else. Like, well, thank you for finally noticing after drugging me and causing all these side effects for a decade.
I know. Using all these other medications that absolutely alter your brain chemistry on top of everything else that's going on. I'm sure that really made a positive impact on your...
But that's why we're here.
That is why we're here.
It's not because I got diagnosed with Parkinson's. Like, that part was the relief in some ways. Like, to finally get an answer to this decades-long question of, like, what the fuck is going on with you? That part was a relief. Like, by the time I got to the actual diagnosis, like, people talk about that, like, dramatically and all this. I was like, okay,
Like, now we have this. What are we going to do? Yeah.
So, I mean, the diagnosis part, like, I mean, you can get more into that. I just, it's a blur for me, that moment in time. I feel I was more, I remember the appointment. I remember going. I remember, like, being like, walk up and down the hallway, come sniff this little cup of coffee beans and telling me I have Parkinson's. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, you just made me walk down a hallway. You can't tell me something that life-changing based on me walking down a hallway.
He knew what he was doing, though. I'm thankful for him because our story isn't everybody else's, and a lot of people don't get that. But until we found him, it was like, why do you have all this pain? Remember, it was your neck, it was your shoulder, it was your back, it was like, what on earth? Like, is it an injury? Yeah, these crazy random pains.
My shoulder just went to shit.
Your
like
shoulder
in
was
2012,
awful.
13 or something like that. Like,
we thought it was
from my car accident.
Which, I mean, who knows? Maybe that started everything too. I guess we'll never know exactly what started it, but
yeah, I mean, I had so much that I could get into.
With the
childhood, environmental, this stupid boy growing up hitting trees with my head and falling on pavement. So many head injuries that I never even addressed. So who knows where it came from? I think that's a rabbit hole I think a lot of people can get into. But all you can do once you get that diagnosis is address it and start cleaning up your life. But yeah, I think the diagnosis part, from there, we left that appointment.
Well, hold on, back up. Let's talk about when he sat us down after you walked up and down the hall. He handed you the coffee beans. I'm sitting in the chair, trying not to cry because I had to hold it together for you. I mean, how did you feel? Because it was a relief, but it was, I think when you actually hear those words, yeah, you have Parkinson's. You knew it. I knew it. I knew it before we even went to see him. But until somebody else confirms it, it's like there's this part of you that wants to play these games, these mind games. So, well, maybe I'm wrong. What if I'm wrong? Maybe I am. And then you actually hear it. And I just remember he was like staring at me. And I'm just like, I couldn't even look him in the eye. And I'm just tears rolling down my face. And I'm like, okay, Joe can't see me cry because he knows when I cry, something's really wrong. Because I usually am pretty strong and I keep it together. I'm like, okay, like we've got this. We're going to go on. I don't know. What did you feel?
In that moment? No, I mean, I think there's this whole phase of grieving something that you just do it differently. I was probably numb.
Yeah.
And more my optimistic side came out where I'm like, nah, it's not true, like something else. But I'll wait for my second opinion. But I mean, I don't know. I was just more numb, like letting you, I think that was the moment I like let you kind of like handle the words and handle this situation. And I just was like, yeah, I mean, that was the beginning of me putting my trust in you to figure it all out. But
Yeah. Do you remember what you said to me when we left the doctor that day?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I'll let you say it because it sounds better coming from you. But I remember leaving there and just, I remember just like a calmness, like a strange calmness to me that
You
day.
were
Like
so calm.
I was like, I think I said it's years of battling your doctor, years of telling your doctor something is wrong, and them just being like, here's another prescription, and that was all I got. So I think I left there. He like threw the prescription, recommended to go in to get an MRI, recommended a second opinion, all of which we can get into. But I just remember leaving and just knowing there's a reason I got it, knowing that there's a purpose. And I think word for word, I think I said, God's going to use this for good. Like there's a purpose behind all of this.
That's exactly what you said.
I don't even know why I said that. Those words aren't words that I typically say. I'm relatively private with my faith and don't, not out there preaching it or anything like that all the time. But for some reason, I felt this need to say that in that moment, and I believed it. So, yep. And then we left there, and what did I do that night? I like went to like my friend's house from the doctor. Like I think I was just
No,
like,
you went to the draft.
oh, fantasy football
You did
draft.
fantasy football. I'm like, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah, I just didn't know what to do with myself. I just left. I like did that, and then that was a fun week too because I had that
You had the endoscopy that week to see
like,
if you had a Barrett's esophagus like your
which
family.
I do have a family history of, not Parkinson's, but that. So I was more worried about that appointment, I think, than anything else, and I think that was kind of blinding me to this appointment. This was just checking a box. I don't have Parkinson's. I'm just going to the doctor to shut everybody up, and that was the appointment I was worried about. Was going and getting that endoscopy done. And that was good at least. So
Yeah, that came back good.
it's just not a fun week.
No, that was a really, really rough week.
Anywho, left there, gave me a prescription, told me to take it. That's how I'll know, but also recommended like an MRI. Did the MRI, that came back with it was normal or something like
Your
that.
MRI came back fine.
So that meant it was most likely Parkinson's. And then we didn't take the meds. Something was telling me, hold off. Let's just see where this goes. I don't need a medication to tell me how my body feels. So it's like I didn't need to take that step. So we ended up going to a world-renowned neurological, that's a hard word for me to say.
We went to a world-renowned hospital that has a couple different locations. And the one we went to, our sweet, sweet friends were able to get us a place to stay last minute. So we're doing okay. Let's go. Let's go. We're going to make this a little trip, you and I. And we were told that everything, come out for a week, they said. No, don't worry. You have 3 little kids. Whatever.
We'll get it all done.
We'll get it all done. We'll get it all done. We'll do all the lab work. Like we have this. And they had some young onset Parkinson's outpatient center, allegedly. We wouldn't know because we never saw it. We'll get the DAT scan. We'll do everything. That is not what happened. Not what happened at all. It was...
No, we went out and got the same assessment. Like
same exact assessment.
We flew, we had to get childcare, all this stuff. We go out there, we get like a quick walk down the hallway assessment, and then you need to do a DAT scan to confirm, which is like a ridiculously expensive test. But I couldn't do it anywhere but there, but I couldn't do it on that trip. So it's like, you got to come back for it in a month.
They actually told us, no, you cannot get that done back in Texas.
Nope.
Because they don't know if the people there can read the results as well as they can where they are. I mean, if I could go back, we never would have got that stinking DAT scan. At the end of the day, you still have Parkinson's.
No, I think it's just that mind game. I'll be politically correct to say it that way. Where you just need to know. You need that confirmation. Because it's a rabbit hole. Like, I had so many diseases for a while in my head. Like, that's when I was stupid and looking and trying to figure out what else it could be. But yeah, I think we went back, 2 months or a month later or something like that.
We had to fly back out a month
Yeah.
later.
Do the test, like all this work to just. I remember going into the room, world-renowned hospital, going to the room, the nurse is doing my vitals. She's like, "What are you here for?" I'm like, "I just did a DAT scan."
What's a DAT
She's like, "What's a DAT scan?" At a freaking world-renowned neurology department. Like, this person that does intake doesn't even know what a common neurological test was. It blew my mind. That was like very like big moment where I was like, whoa. But yeah, again, I remember just being done with that appointment, and it was,
We told him we weren't going to do the carbidopa levodopa.
well, he
We
told
said
me that
absolutely
was
not.
the only option: exercise and take these pills. So I flew all the way out there twice to be told to exercise, which I know I have to do. That's just, you should exercise as a human, and take pills. And then it was almost like this, like if you're lucky enough, you'll get the golden ticket and get to do DBS someday too, which is deep brain stimulation surgery, which is just a complete no. So yeah, so we went home. Here, I actually printed off because I was curious about this part, the pills. It was like, well, okay, like I'm kind of done with pills. I don't know if I have it here. But it was, well, what's the side effects of the pills? And I don't have it on me right now. It might be in your pile. But you could probably speak to the side effects of the pills, but I think that was where we started.
Yep.
It was kind of like a COVID moment where I'm good. I'm not going to take the pills. Like, I've been here too many times now, and it's like it's never really worked out great for me.
It just makes sense, right? Like, least invasive procedure first. So why on earth would you start with a pharmaceutical and not try something natural? Is kind of where we were like, wait a second. Why would I jump ahead and alter my brain chemistry and put what I feel is poison into my body? If we get to that point in life and we have to do it, then we'll face it then. But as of right now and back then when we got diagnosed, absolutely not. There's so many different things between cannabis, any other type of plant medicine, all the different types of supplements, nutrition. When you get a diagnosis like that, you have to just stop. You have to pause. You have to look at your whole entire life and be like, what am I eating? Am I exercising right? What am I putting into my body? What type, even down to like, what type of cookware are you using? What type of water are you drinking? You have to completely take an honest look inside yourself and be like, what am I doing that I need to stop? And do I need to stop it now? That is the first thing every stinking doctor in this world needs to tell their patient. Not, oh, I had no education on nutrition and I'm going to tell you that, a Mediterranean diet, which I am not dogging, I think it's fabulous, but it's like they're just kind of robots. Like, oh, okay, go exercise, eat good, and take your pills.
Yeah.
Like, let's take a full 360 view of your life and just pause for a second and let's figure out what we can do from a natural standpoint to support your body's natural ability to detox, your natural ability to regenerate, your natural ability to heal. Our bodies are designed to heal. God designed our bodies to heal, and He gave us everything on this earth that we need to heal.
I mean, and from a logical perspective, like our healthcare system is it's like a loop, and it's like there's a standard of care that they all have to kind of operate within because they make a shitload of money to do it.
Yep.
What do they gain from going outside of it? And it's most young doctors are too in debt to question the system. Most old doctors are too set in their ways. It's to the point where I'm like, the ideal doctor is probably like 50, out of debt and young enough to still question our healthcare system, but even they won't because it's too lucrative to go outside of it, to not go outside of it. I think that's the part I started questioning, and it's like follow the money. It's where do they do well? They do well staying within the boundaries. Where do they fall apart, lose their jobs, have no financial option going outside of the system? So, I was catching on to that before this, I think, but then after this I did, and then it's like you start to really assess like what they're telling you, and it's like, okay, I have Parkinson's, you're giving me this medication, what are the side effects? And the side effects are probably more associated with what you see from somebody with Parkinson's than how I display Parkinson's, because I have true Parkinson's. Most people out there have medication side effects. That's where you get the dyskinesia, like the body moving all over the place and all the other things, and some random ones too, like gambling and sexual addictions and random
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like,
it's hard. It ruins these people's lives.
it's just
And
like, it's just poisoning people and not truly fixing the problem that was created by the poisoning of people, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
to me, it was like the COVID shot. It was just like, fuck that. I'm not taking that at all. Like that was never going to happen. It was never this like debate or question or anything. Like, you start looking at the path everyone's gone down, you start looking at the big foundations out there and what they're doing, but then like proof of concept does not exist. Like every single person that follows that plan falls to shit. So it's like, I'll probably go to shit either way, but at least my way like keeps it open-ended. So, like,
will you though?
I don't know, but
You know?
I'm just saying, I don't know. And that's the fun part. And that's the part that makes it worth exploring. It's like, I know exactly where I'll end up if I go that way.
Yeah.
And what's the point of that? Where's the fun in that? So, so I don't know. I mean, yeah. So medication was a no.
Medication was a definite no.
Yeah.
And you know, if anybody listening to this that's taking the meds, nobody's trying to make you feel bad because you take them at all. But we are trying to let you know that there is another way, and we've been finding another way. A lot of people are scared, and a lot of people have obviously been brainwashed by the system, just like everybody has been at some point in their life, thinking that, well, I trust my doctor. My doctor has my best interest in mind. If my doctor tells me to take medication A, B, and C, well, I'm going to take medication A, B, and C. And when you come along and try to tell me that plant medicine and a holistic way to heal your body works, I'm trained to tell you that you're an idiot and that you guys are full of shit. And you know, I think that there's a lot of people in the community, and it's not just Parkinson's community, but we're talking about that right now. There's a lot of people in the community that get angry with people like you and I that try to come out and say, no, absolutely not. There is another way. We're not here to shame them. We are not here to say what they're doing is wrong. But I think people are afraid to believe that they've been lied to this whole time because it is scary. You put your trust in a system that's failing you. You take all these different medications, and then somebody comes along and tries to tell you, hey, let me help you. There might be another way to do this. It can make a lot of people angry. And it kills me because we're not here to piss people off. I mean, our beliefs might piss people off. And I mean, if they do, I really don't care. But when it comes to taking care of your body, I'll never back down because I believe that people need to be educated and they need to wake up. And instead of coming at us with anger and disbelief, maybe it's like pause, you know, maybe take a step back and be like, okay, so maybe everything I've been taught wasn't right. You know, maybe they're onto something here because you've literally had Parkinson's for, what did we say, 13, 14 years, diagnosed in your third year now. You're doing better than you were
I'm way
on
better
our
than I
honeymoon.
was.
And I'm going to say that right now. You are mentally, emotionally so much better than you were then. And I mean, physically, yes, you have a tremor, but we don't even care about the tremor. Is it annoying sometimes? Yes, but I can also tell when you're angry or upset because it starts shaking
That's
more.
my tell. But we're working on that.
We're
too.
working on
I
that
think we have
too.
some things that we're exploring for that, and that's what it's all about, is exploring. And we'll get more into all the exploring that we're doing in time. I think, you know, for now, this is pretty much the diagnosis story, and I think from here, like I think we should probably start to talk about.
What about the kids? You completely skipped over telling the kids,
Telling family and stuff.
telling family.
I mean, I kind of left a lot of that selfishly at that moment in time. I think I just had to like shut myself down. And I think a lot of that went on you to start sharing the news.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to hit on that in this
Yeah.
episode. I think young onset is on the rise. I mean, Parkinson's is the fastest growing neurological disorder in the whole stinking world. Why do you think that is? Every time you and I turn around, we are hearing somebody else that just got diagnosed that's our age.
I talked to, 3, 4, 5 people a week?
Yes. Wake up, everybody. This is not genetic. This is your environment. Wake up. Like, this is not okay. And we have to worry about our kids. We have to worry about everything when it comes to this. And so, yeah, I think...
I think that's what we're doing now. I mean, I think we've really made a lot of life corrections based on this diagnosis. So it's a blessing in some ways because it forced us to take a closer look. It forced us to dive deeper into our lifestyle, what we're doing wrong, like little things. Like, we're crazy. Like, people out there, when they kind of hear more, they're going to be like, wow, you're freaking nuts.
I am nuts.
Like plastics and all the other, like
But you
we'll
have
save
to.
microwaves. That'll be like a 2-part series.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just everything that we're doing.
But the kids,
Yeah.
anyways, I got off on a tangent.
Yeah, that's what we do.
The kids.
Yeah. I don't remember telling the kids.
You don't remember telling the kids?
No.
I remember telling the kids. It was hard.
I think it was just.
It was really hard.
I think I was in this like denial. I don't know. But I remember just being like, you can tell whoever you want. I'm not telling anybody.
Yeah, you were definitely in a little bit of denial, but for anybody out there with young kids, or kids of any age for that matter, it's really hard to sit your 3 little girls down and say something's wrong with daddy, because they already were starting to see the changes in him. And then telling them, I mean, it was, we're laughing and we're okay right now, but that year that he got diagnosed, the grief was, it was almost unbearable. I mean, I'm grieving so many different things from my parents and one of our daughters and your diagnosis, but when the kids and the tears and the fear, it was really tough. And so, I mean, I think one of these days, they were a mess. And one of these days we'll get into the whole parenting with Parkinson's conversation and stuff, but it affects everybody, and grief is real. I went through a lot of it. I was angry. I was sad. I was angry. I was so angry. And you got bad really quick when you got diagnosed. The stress of it all, it like kind of pushed you and accelerated. Like the pain was bad. You weren't sleeping, like all of this. And I was like, what is happening? Like, God, like, what are you doing to us right now? And I just couldn't believe that you would go downhill so fast. But I was like, okay, stress. The stress of it all. And that's when I was like, we're going to fix this. And that's when I went, I don't even know how I did it, even my therapist, which she's like, you cannot do this to yourself right now. That's when Aaliyah was already being born before you got diagnosed, but it has changed immensely since God has a different plan than what I originally had.
Pre-Parkinson's was very different, yeah.
But I literally went back to school. I went back and got certified in cannabis healthcare and medicine. I mean, I'm talking waking up at 4:35 every single morning before my other job and before getting the kids up. And so that was a whole program. So I got certified in that. And at the same time, I was getting board certified in integrative and functional nutrition. And why did I do that to myself? I had to. It was like fire inside of me that was like, you have to do this. And I did it because look at us now. I mean, I already had the knowledge and the critical thinking that I needed, but I already knew, and I knew cannabis was great for so many reasons, and I knew nutrition was great for so many reasons, but I really needed that, I needed that full background and education to really give me that confidence that I needed to make sure that I was going to do everything for you and anyone else that needed help. And
I think like a lot of things in life, like it comes down to faith. Like we didn't know why we set up Leo when we did. We didn't know why you were doing all that when we did. I think you were just doing it because it was like enough's enough. We got to find another way. But I think it also came down to when we started to look for another way, it wasn't there. And I think that's something we can kind of get more into as the foundation and Leo and your certifications from here. But it was born out of immediate frustration when we got that diagnosis and got, you know, that prescription put in our hands, and it's like, let's look for something else out there, and it didn't exist. And I think that's where we started to really try to figure out another way and try to figure out how we can bring another way to the world. And so, you know, that's my spiel on our diagnosis. The horrible year 2 of everything going to shit.
Yeah, but you know what? It got us to where we are today, and I think we're gonna hopefully help a lot of people.
Yeah,
I really do.
We're doing that now, and
that's my mission. That's our mission.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna leave it there. You know, I think maybe on the next episode we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into, you know, the why no pharma and why our approach, and maybe get into some more details there.
Yeah, foundation.
Yeah.
We'll get into the fun stuff now.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.